Hey everybody, it's Lo. Welcome back to my channel, Lo Without Limits. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you all about my houseplants. I have so many, so I'm just going to go over the different kinds that I have and different tips and tools that I use to keep them alive and healthy and bug-free, because it is a lot harder than you think. So if you want to know more about my plants and the different tools that I use, just keep watching. So a handful of my plants I bought on my own. The big Monstera my parents got with me, and a lot of them I've picked up just after the first few months of moving in. I needed some green in this apartment since I didn't have too much furniture or too many decorations. But a lot of them my friend actually gave me when she was moving to New York and didn't want to just get rid of her plants. And so she said, Lauren, I'll give them to you as like a goodbye gift. Take care of my babies. So I have been, but one thing that happened when I got her plants where I was getting these bugs, and I Googled what they were. I was like, they look like mosquitoes, but they're smaller. I never got any bites from them, but they were so annoying. And they were always in my bathroom too. Like when I would have the light on, I'd see one kind of swarming around me in the bathroom. So I tried to kill it, and there was just so many, and they looked like little mosquitoes, weren't biting, weren't bothering me, just annoying. And they were there, so I realized that they're called fungus gnats. So they're different than regular like fruit flies or anything like that. They're so much harder to get rid of. Fruit flies are pretty easy to kill. And so what I did was, in a lot of my plants, I bought these fungus gnats bite, little pebbles almost, and I put that on top of the dirt. I got 2 off Amazon and just kind of covered most of the dirt on all my plants. So when I would water them, the water will take the chemical, which is it's safe for the plants. It'll take that into the dirt with them and kill any larvae that's in there. And just for backup, I also bought these Mosquito Dunks, because not only do they help with mosquitoes, but with fungus gnats too. So they come in, this is a pack of 6 and they're different circles. I break it in half, just like how this one is, and I add it to I bought a 1-gallon jug of water. And I'll let that soak in there at least overnight, just with the half. And then I'll use that water to kind of water all my plants. And that chunk will stay in the water bottle, in the big gallon jug, for a pretty long time, a good few months. And I just refill that jug, let it soak overnight, and that's what I'll use to keep watering my plants. And once that little half of a dunk is gone, I just take another half and throw it in there and keep filling up that water bottle. Since obviously it's fine for the plants, but you shouldn't want to be drinking that water, I labeled it water for plants, and I have a specific cup that I just use to, instead of dumping the 1-gallon jug into my plants, I pour it into this cup and I use that to get to all my plants. So that has helped so much. Since doing this, knock on wood, I've had no fungus gnats, and it's been pretty amazing. My mom also, because I gave her one of my friend's plants, so I gave her some and that helped her out. And my dad had one at work that had fungus gnats, and that helped him out so much. And when I told my friend about these annoying bugs that I was having, and I told her that they were called fungus gnats and how I got rid of them, she was like, oh man, I always had those around my apartment. So at least I knew that I got them from her, and I got rid of them completely. And it wasn't a plant that I bought at a nursery, because then the larvae will hide in plants and you bring it home and they'll spread to all your other plants. Or they'll hide in dirt if you buy a sack of dirt, and once you pour that in there, it'll spread to all your other plants. So you really never know when or how you're gonna get them. You don't really know how they're gonna pop up, but once they're there, they're annoying, and these have been such a game changer. Now, just for a quick overview of all my houseplants, all of the plants that I have here are good for low or indirect sunlight and an average indoor temperature. This little tree here was the first plant that I bought for my apartment. It's a Dracaena fragrans, aka a corn plant, and it has grown a lot since I first bought it last November and continues to sprout new leaves from the inside out, making it so full and so fluffy. Behind the little tree is another Dracaena. It's a Dracaena derminicis, and I got this one from my friend when she moved. Next, I have my snake leaf plant, also referred to as mother-in-law's tongue, which is one of the easiest houseplants to have. It requires very little sunlight as well as very little water. It's so low maintenance. Next to it is also the first of my mini Pothos. This one is super long, so I have it here temporarily, and I've actually folded up a bunch of the long vines into itself, and it's still so long. All of the vines I have in my apartment are Pothos vines, which you can tell from the shape of the leaf as well as how new leaves grow. As you can tell, these vines come in many different sizes and colors. They are amazing with any kind of light, both like bright or indirect or very little sunlight, and can tolerate poor soil if you haven't changed out the soil. So no matter where you have them, they will survive and even thrive. One in my bathroom has also gotten so long with very little sunlight. and I think that's probably why they're also sometimes referred to as devil's ivy. I also have 2 small plants in these little pots. The first one is a spider plant that I have on my table, and the second is on the wall, and it's an arrowhead vine which has these beautiful bright leaves with hints of pink in it. And of course I have my little Pelea, which is a Chinese money plant, and I've had some ups and downs with me, but trying really hard to nurse it back to health. And lastly, my big beautiful Monstera deliciosa. This baby has grown so much since first getting it, and I love seeing how the new leaves pop up and start to uncurl. I bought it with this piece of wood in the back to keep it upright, but I soon want to get a different support just because the wood is holding onto a lot of water and making the dirt a little funky. So my Monstera is definitely a monster, but I love it so much. I just wake up and it's right in front of me, and it honestly makes me so happy to have in my apartment. Okay, now that I've talked you through all my plants, all my different ones, how much I love each one, I'm gonna water them and just show you how I do it. I usually just do it once a week. It's a part of my weekly chores that I write down for myself. And be sure not to overwater them, especially ones that say every few days. Just make sure you follow the instructions and you talk to someone at the nursery when you're getting the plant, so they kind of can tell you this is how much sun it requires, or this is how much water it requires. And when buying your plant, don't just go and grab the first one that looks pretty that you really want because you saw it somewhere. Really take into account where you live, what the environment's like, how often you can water it, and how much sunlight you're getting. I know that throughout most of the day, except around 5-6 p.m., there's a big tree outside my patio, so I don't get the best light. So when I was looking at my plants, I really needed good indoor plants that do well with indirect sunlight or low sunlight. The vines do great with low sunlight. The Monstera gets great indirect sunlight, especially when I leave the shutters open when I go to work. Monsteras and especially fiddle leaf figs, if you put them right in front of the light, their leaves will actually burn. So you'll see that when it gets a little brown at the top and it's not doing too well. So you want to be sure it has good indirect sunlight and isn't just getting it all right there. You'll also know that a Monstera is healthiest when it's growing new leaves, and all these leaves have the splits, which is what makes their leaves so beautiful. The more splits a leaf actually has means the healthier the plant is. So when the leaves are growing, some of them at the bottom are just growing in dark, but a lot of other ones uncurl, and they'll uncurl with splits, and you'll know that's a good healthy plant. Okay, now I'm off to water them. So I'm going to use, this is my gallon of water. This is water for plants, or mosquito dunk water for plants. Just a reminder, do not drink this water, if you couldn't tell. It already has half of a mosquito dunk in here, except it's kind of breaking up, so I think after this use today, when I go to refill my gallon of water, I'll probably throw another half in there. So just only replace it when it's kind of when you'll wash it out and or when you use all the water and there's not a lot of stuff in there. That way the water has really soaked in all the mosquito dunk stuff, so you don't get any fungus gnats. The first thing that I'll do is I'll get all the vining ones, or ones that need to be put in trays, and I'll put them on my fireplace. Around my fireplace is this stone, so I know that when I water them, it won't get water all over my wood floors, and it just kind of keeps them all close together, so it's easier to put back away. I also use these trays. I have a few extra ones because some of them in their pots don't have a tray in there. So when I water them, I'll leave them in this. That way any extra water can end up in the tray and not all over. I also put them up when I got them in a way that I really liked, just on the length of the vines. So when I put them around my fireplace, I put them in that order. That way when I put them back, it's so much easier to tell which one I had in which order. This one I originally bought for my bathroom to go in a little hanging thing by my bathroom sink, and when I got it, he wasn't this long, but he's still very full and very bright. And at the nursery they said that this plant is really good for humid environments, which being in a bathroom with little sunlight but having a lot of regular light, especially with the humid environment, is really good. And then when I put it in that hanging thing, because it has straps that go from the pot up, it went just shoved up like this and it looked ridiculous. This is one that doesn't have a plastic tray in its pot, so of course, I'll just grab one of these. As you can see, my apartment without any plants up there, it looks so just empty and sad. So my friend gave me all these viney ones and I took just a handful of the healthy ones because some other ones we did have to let go. It just brought so much more life into my place and I love it. It makes it feel so alive and it really takes away from like how white and empty the walls are, especially not really having like an actual headboard or anything for my bed. It really just like brightens up the space and brings life, and people come in here and they like really notice the plants and like, oh, how much like life and just like happiness it brings into the environment. Because like without this, it's just like, what is this? It's sad, that's why. Okay, now I'm gonna water them. And if there are any dead leaves on the plants, I'll usually look at those and just throw them away as I put them back up one by one. After I'm all done watering my plants, I'll just let them sit there around my fireplace in case any water does drain out. Then I can get it while they're done there instead of not really realizing it when they're on the shelf or like back in their pots. So this way I can just kind of keep an eye on them, and by the end of the day, kind of before the sun goes down, I'll put them back up. And the only reason I do it before the sun goes down is so if a bug, again, pops out at me, I can run and it's daylight versus it being super dark in here and like not seeing where anything went and then having to go to bed thinking like, did I actually kill it? So I'll always do it. I always water and like put my plants back when the sun is up. Okay, now that I'm done watering my plants, I'll just give my plant cup a little rinse. And then actually in this gallon, if you can see, there's still like that half of the mosquito dunk. So because there's still a good amount of that in there, but it does start to disintegrate after a few months. So once it starts disintegrating, that's when I'll throw a new half in there. But this one still looks pretty good. Obviously it's broken up a little bit, but I can definitely get a few more uses out of it. So I'm just gonna fill up this gallon. So when I have it for next week, that water that I just filled it up with will already have absorbed all of the chemicals from the mosquito dunk. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it'll help you take care of all your houseplants. All of mine were pretty inexpensive and for the most part don't require too much maintenance. So I hope all these tips and tricks and tools helped you and your plants, or you go out and get some. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you want to see more of. And while you're at it, subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting a new video every Wednesday. Thanks for watching.